So I always kind of dismissed American painter Fairfield Porter as kind of a, you know, beachcombing representational painter until recently when I got beyond the fact that what he paints are these, pretty beautiful Hamptons and Maine places and um, these lovely flowers and seemingly simple subject matters and people, and I looked more into the art itself and its influence and its impact on other people and what he was seeing in his work, and in an era when expressionism, abstract expressionism, was the cool thing, and every critic was telling him to stop painting representational work. It made him just all the more defiant to capture the world that he knew. But he definitely did it in a modernist way. The older I get, the more experienced I get as a painter, the more I love these and appreciate what they're going to do. So we are going to do our own Fairfield Porter-inspired painting. So what defines a porter? To me, it's pretty steeped in nostalgia. Even though he painted a lot of these in real time, I feel like these are very nostalgic paintings. For me to paint like this, I would be painting something from the past. I feel like it would be hard for me. There's something about them that just feels like a time capsule, even though he painted these in real time. He just captured the essence of a subject. Look at everything we get in these small amount of details. Look at this brevity of his marks, but what a story, that we capture so many places and people. He used very simplified compositions and patterns. So he did a lot of work we know in the front end, simplifying, like look at these trees are simple. He kind of just, the big trees, little trees, something in the distance, mountains. Look at how he depicted these waves in Maine and the clouds. The patterns in the shadow, that was often prevalent. There was a lot of shadow work he did. Often his paintings are in bright, like noon daytime light, just really bright or diffused, and the shadows are a really big part of it. Speaking of diffused, I know when I think of like diffused light in a painting, I think of people like Monet and Turner, where the atmosphere created by the light is the focus and the reason it exists. But look at the diffused light in these porters and how he has this like dreamy quality from the way the light is impacting the air around the subjects and the lake and the house. It's just really so beautiful. And he was an observational artist. So this was my concern about doing this, is how do we, especially those of you in the nighttime where it's just indoor light, how are we going to capture this feeling? And I kind of feel like you might succeed best by picking an image that is very light heavy and very diffused with light. I think that is how you're going to have the most success, unless you're painting here in the daytime and you can use the daytime light. But yeah, look at, it's just so beautiful. The way the light impacts everything. Obviously, I bet you could guess he was influenced by Voulard, who shared his love of everyday moments and the essence of things and pattern in color and shadow. He was a huge influence. Yeah, I'd never seen this one before, which I think is really Fairfield Porter-esque. But when you are painting, maybe you also want to think about some of Voulard and how he filled his whole painting with a pattern. And maybe you could find an image that has a multiplicity of patterns, so you could really do almost like a overwhelming amount of shapes. Might be a more surprising influence is Willem de Kooning, but then if you look at this, the light in his abstracts, the energy, the essence of subjects, it's kind of like Porter merged what was happening in real time around him with his friends, with Voulard, and came out with this. So how are we going to do our own Porter? We're first gonna sketch with pencil. The Smithsonian Archive has a lot of artist archives, and they had a lot of Porter sketches. So I found some. We're gonna do sketches like this, where we're gonna map out our shapes first, and then, or you could do ink, we can do either, before we go to painting. And then let's use a Porter palette, Porter-inspired palette, and these are oh my gosh, sorry, it's so loud here today. These are the colors we're gonna use. If you want to take a look. And then you can see how a lot of them are mid to low range. So we will have a few bits of darkness, but it'll be pretty high key. We're going to define, just like the sketch from Porter, define our pattern in paint, like kind of define, even in the figures, you'll notice a pattern. Look at the background and then the dress leading down to the shoes and the polka dots, all the shadows and trees. We're going to kind of look for a pattern and a strong composition, like triangular, and then we're going to build out those shapes in paint. Imagine here we would block out the trees, we would block out the chairs, the figures, very blocky, almost like color field. When we go to do shadows, we're going to think about transparent shadows, which just means instead of painting, you might paint the whole floor and then paint a transparent color over the floor to establish the shadows. Does that make sense? So we'll be looking for transparent paint to paint over our already existing table to create the shadow. And we are going to stop early and not overdo it. Look at how many details. You know, in order to get to the essence of things, we have to sacrifice edges. So we're going to put buttons, faces,
use brevity as our goal.
Work with all. Okay, see you tomorrow. Bye.